What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 3 of the Masks Off podcast. I am your host, Marcus. Most of you watching or listening know me as Marcus Comics. And let's start the episode the same way we always do, by taking off our masks and sitting down and talking about some cool and nerdy things. And then when the episode is done, we put our masks back on and go back to saving the world. So just for a little brief overview of what the episode's going to be about, it's going to start the same way we always do, with a quote of the week. Then I want to talk a little bit about mental health awareness. Then we have DC and Marvel comic collabs that are coming out next week. At the time I'm recording this, it is Wednesday, which means it's New Comic Book Day, and next Wednesday it will come out. If you are a patron, you can watch this probably today, if not tomorrow. And then if you're a YouTube or Spotify listener, you can listen to this. It's probably Friday now. So yeah, I'm excited for those. I want to talk a little bit about Alice in Borderland Season 3 because I just finished that. I want to talk about a little collab sort of thing where Hat Guy joined my TikTok live and was giving me a bunch of advice, and it was just really, inspiring. And then I want to talk about DC Knightfight in the future of DCKO, and then a question segment where if you're in my Discord, you can ask questions and I will answer them. But it's more going to be a hot take segment, so not sure why I said question segment. So pretend I said hot takes. But yeah, so let's get straight into it. So for the quote of the week, the quote that I chose is, "A butterfly can't see its own wings, so they can't see how beautiful they are, but everyone else can. So you may or may not know what's good about you, but other people do. So out of all things to hate in this world, why choose yourself?" This sort of ties in with a lot of the mental health things that I want to talk about in like the next thing. But, a lot of people struggle with seeing internal beauty with themselves and, giving yourself self-worth. But it's a lot easier for other people to look at you and to just understand how much you are worth than to feel it yourself when you can't experience how you affect others because you're not affecting yourself, if that makes any sense. But you gotta keep your head high because you've affected so many people in your entirety of your life, whether it's like in a certain interaction you had, maybe even one time with one person, you never know how much they could be thinking about it. And if you really do feel that you've been spreading some negativity in the world, make this the day where you switch up and you spread positivity. Everybody has a lot to offer, and it's kind of one of those things where the more that you put out into the world, the more that you'll receive out of the world, if that makes any sense. So you guys are all wonderful people. So thank you guys for listening, obviously. Thank you guys for supporting me. But also just know that you guys are actually worth it. You know what I mean? You guys are awesome people. So that makes me want to talk about mental health. So, I mean, if it isn't obvious enough, there is like a mental health crisis that's going on in our generation, whether it's because of social media or because of any other things such as like, more awareness to things that are going on. A lot of people have been going through their own mental health crises. And just as a little like message, just know that you're not alone. And I would highly encourage you, if you feel like you can't go through something by yourself, to reach out to somebody that is like close to you, whether it's a parent, whether it's a friend, whether it's a sibling. No matter what it is, you should reach out to somebody. And if you don't have anybody to reach out to, you can always reach out to me. So just know that you're not alone with whatever you're going through, because like I said, we're going through a mental health crisis, and I think it's really important with the platform that I have to talk about how you guys aren't alone. You know what I mean? But now that we've got all of the, a little bit of the sad things, not sad isn't the right words, the more serious things, let's talk about some nerdy things. So what I want to talk about now is the DC and Marvel comic collabs. So I thought that the DC and Marvel comic issue number 1 that's coming out with the Batman and Deadpool cover was just a reprint of Batman and Deadpool with different mini stories, but I was completely wrong. So it's actually the same like Batman and Deadpool, but it's written by DC this time. So the first issue that was of Deadpool and Batman was written by Marvel, and now the mini stories will be written by DC, as well as the actual Batman and Deadpool. So it's going to be a different Batman and Deadpool story, which I'm really excited for. But I wanted to talk about just the collabs because, we already know Batman and Deadpool is going to be one of them, but I want to, like, the collabs are kind of what I'm here for, if that makes any sense. So the first one I want to talk about is John Constantine and Doctor Strange. I know nothing about John Constantine, and I know very little about comic Doctor Strange. Obviously, I've watched the MCU. I like the Doctor Strange movies, but I know like nothing about John Constantine. He's on my list of characters that I want to read. One of them being Cassandra Cain, one of them being Zatanna, one of them being Damian Wayne, John Constantine. There's just some like characters, Animal Man, Doctor Fate. There's some characters that I haven't really dove into yet as a comic reader because I've only been reading for about 3.5 months by the time this comes out. I think around maybe close to 4, but a very short amount of time. And I just want to read them because I've heard nothing but amazing things about like Hellblazer, and just think it'll be cool. You know what I mean? So seeing the two magic wielders being John Constantine, and Doctor Strange working together or against each other in this mini story, I think will be really cool because I love all things magic. I think magic characters are awesome. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I want to read Zatanna, John Constantine, and Doctor Fate. Those are all magic characters. So yeah, I'm a big magic guy, and I think it'll be really, really cool. So that's the first comic collab. The second collab that I am probably the most excited for out of the 4 collabs that we are getting is, what's it called? Laura Kinney and Nightwing. So Laura Kinney, I believe, was X-23. I honestly, again, don't know much about Laura Kinney, but she looks kind of like Wolverine. So I'm assuming she's X-23, but that might not even be true. I don't know. But the art is by Bruno Redondo, who in my opinion is the best Nightwing artist of all time. And he's going to be doing the art on Nightwing again, which, if you didn't know, he did the Leaping into the Light, like the Tom Taylor run of Nightwing was done by Bruno Redondo. And you guys know how amazing that artwork is. So that is the one that I'm most excited for, in my opinion. I mean, Nightwing is my second favorite DC character. I know nothing about Laura Kinney, but Laura Kinney looks really freaking cool. And then Bruno Redondo on the art, Tom Taylor on the writing. I think it's going to be peak. And I'm super excited for it. The next collab is Static and Mrs. Marvel. I think that's going to be interesting. I read Static Season 1, the compact comic, which was by DC. Static is really cool. I think his powers are really, like, interesting. And I also thought that the artwork in it is good. I don't know who's doing the artwork in the collab comic, but I hope it's good. But, like, Static, I mean, lightning-powered characters just look cool, in my opinion, regardless, because lightning is just a cool element to have. So I know it's going to look good, but I don't know how I feel about it. Like, I like both characters. I like Miss Marvel. I like Static. I don't know how they're going to work together, but I'm sure that, they'll figure something out. And I'm excited for it, but that's probably third place. Oh my gosh, I need to talk about this. Last place. This is the weirdest collab of all time. Hulk and Harley Quinn. I'm being so serious. Hulk and Harley Quinn. Not only that, they have a cover together where they're having an eating competition of hot dogs. So I'm worried this is going to be an interesting comic, to say the least. I think it might be another one of those comics that are similar to the Harley Quinn fart comic. So that would be very bad, but I'm hoping it's not. I'm hoping that it's like something interesting, maybe just some character interaction, not an eating hot dog glizzy competition. But who knows, man. Harley Quinn is, she's kind of falling off. I've always liked Harley Quinn as a character. I mean, I use her skin in Fortnite, but like, bro, hot dog eating competition against Hulk, are we serious? Bro, I don't know. That collab to me is just so forced and so weird. And because the cover that they got is them eating hot dogs together and like having a competition of who can eat the most glizzies, I don't know, man. I don't even want to talk about it anymore. But I'm so excited for those collabs, like I said. I love collab comics in general. And one collab that I really want to see in the future, Marvel and DC, tap in. Batman Beyond and Spider-Man 2099. Tell me that would not be peak. It's basically futuristic Batman. Well, it is futuristic Batman and futuristic Spider-Man working together. So, like, I'm telling you, Marvel and DC, hire me right now. I'll figure out a way. I'll learn how to write comics, and I'll write a Batman Beyond comic where he collabs with Spider-Man 2099. And it will be peak. But that's definitely, my pick if I had to choose a collab comic from Marvel and DC. Oh my gosh. Okay. Sorry about that. Now I want to talk about Alice in Borderland Season 3. This was so mid. So mid. Me and my girlfriend, we watched it together, and we are both. She's like a way bigger fan of Alice in Borderland than I am. I enjoy it. I think overall it's probably like an 8.5 out of 10. I think it's her favorite TV show. It is her favorite TV show of all time. Not sure how that. I should have asked after we finished it if it's still her favorite of all time, because maybe it changed. But yeah, we were both disappointed. And to have like your number, she was like the number one fan. She knows every character, every single interaction, everything about that show she knows. To have like a fan that's that diehard to not like it is like kind of impressive. Like I feel like if they even just had like a 7.5 out of 10 or 8 out of 10 season, that she could have at least found some sort of enjoyment. The games were weird. The interactions between Usagi and Arisu was very weird. The wheelchair guy, like, just defying the games because he has a wheelchair was also weird. Um, I did not like it. The only game that I thought was cool was the bingo game, but then I realized you could win without hitting the free space, so that just made Usagi's mission to go to the very top to click the free space basically useless, because that just increases the risk of you dying for literally no reason because you can just hit the other buttons. But I don't know. I thought it was very weird. I also think that like the whole trope of like, oh, somebody dies, oh, they're not really dead, is just getting so overdone in Alice in Borderland. But the worst thing about Alice in Borderland Season 3 is the ending. Why is it going to America? Why is it Alice in Los Angeles, bro? Dude, Korean shows need to lock in, bro. You don't need to bring everything to America. First it was Squid Games, now it's Alice in Borderland. It's just weird. Like, you're making an American fan not happy. So like who are you making happy? Because I'm sure that like, or at least there's probably some people out there that are like, "Oh my gosh, like it's going to be in the US." But like if you're watching a Korean show, or at least for me, I like seeing a different setting. I don't like watching a Korean show if it's just going to take place in the US. Like part of like the beauty of like watching another culture create a show is you can see those cultural differences. I don't think I'm going to see that when it's in Los Angeles. And I'm just worried. Um, I just don't have high hopes, especially because season 3 was kind of just sloppy, in my opinion. To have a sloppy show go from Korean now to American, I think is even more sloppy, if that makes sense. I'm hoping that Squid Games America like pokes jokes at like America and doesn't take it too seriously, because if it's more like a comedic season, then sure, maybe it'll be good. But if they actually try to take it seriously, I'm just not gonna find it enjoyable at all, because it seems so forced. There's what freaking 200 something countries in the world, and you choose to bring it to the U.S. Like, come on, like you know what I mean? Like, you could show off a diverse amount of culture going literally anywhere else, but like America gets so focused on these shows that have literally nothing to do with it. Alice in Borderland has nothing to do with America. And then the big reveal that the girl character named Alice is in Los Angeles, like, bro, lock in, bro. What are they doing? Stop bringing Korean shows or just random foreign shows to America. Like, as an American fan, I don't like it, so you're not impressing me. And I'm sure as a Korean fan, it must be like a little bit annoying being like, dang, every single show I watch goes to America. But maybe not. Maybe that's what sells there. I honestly have no idea. But in my opinion, it just is kind of like a bad decision. It just seems like a money grab, and it's not impressing me. So, yeah, Alice in Borderland season 3, specifically season 3, I'll probably give like a 6 out of 10. It was not very enjoyable for me. I didn't really like the plot. I didn't grow closer to any of the new characters. I wish that they focused a lot on the older characters. They threw them in the last episode, which was like, pro, we could have had them, but we didn't. We got these noobs. But Yeah, I didn't really enjoy it. Some of the parts were just so weird, like the 10 million arrows or the 100 million arrows that were getting shot at Arisu. Like, bro, are we serious? Like, that's just so extra, not needed. But yeah, six to 6.5 out of 10 for me. I feel like Alice in Borderland overall as a show is probably closer to like an 8.5 out of 10. But like season 1 and season 2 I think were really good. It's just, bro, season 3 just brings it down so much. It was so bad. And I think if they continue with the whole American thing, just the show overall is just going to keep going lower and lower and lower and lower. And I'm just not trying to see that happen, especially to my girlfriend's favorite show. That's a little bit embarrassing to say the least. So let's hope that that gets better because I don't want it to get worse. But moving on, instead of just hating on this show, which I feel bad for a little bit, but at the end of the day, like, it does seem very sloppy, so I kind of do want to talk about it. But moving on, like I said, I want to talk about the Hat Guy collab on TikTok. It is just such an overwhelming feeling of positivity knowing that somebody that I look up to that is in the same like realm of superhero nerdy content like has been encouraging me and pushing me to succeed. It's like I genuinely can't put it into words because this is somebody that I've watched for. I mean, I've watched the podcast since the first episode because I've watched Andrew for like longer than I've watched Hat Guy. I didn't know about him until the podcast. But I instantly like clicked closer to Hat Guy than I did with Andrew because he just seems more like me, if that makes any sense. Like, we're not like the same, but like, I don't know how to explain it. Maybe it's like personalities, but to see him like go out of his way to join my TikTok lives, to give me on advice on how to grow, to give me advice on the trajectory of my like what I want to get out of content, to just give me words of encouragement, like congratulating me on my wins, telling me like reassuring me like so I was watching Star Wars for the first time, like telling me like, hey, whatever you think about Empire Strikes Back, make sure to DM me and like I'll make sure to read it. It's like that's awesome. Like he's going way out of his way for a smaller creator such as myself just to make us feel heard and listened to and like pursue our dreams and passions. And that's just so awesome. That's like the third time. And then he mentioned me on a Patreon episode like 2 different times. Like like it's wild. It's wild. This is somebody that I've watched for over 2 years. And I don't know. I just feel like blessed. I just feel so blessed. Like I'm so lucky. I can't say it any other way. I'm just so lucky. And I always say this, if you guys haven't thought about creating content, all of this that you've seen of me, whether it's the podcast, whether it's my TikTok, my Instagram, the Discord, the Twitch streams, whatever it is, has happened in under 4 months. Like, I can't think of anything else that could possibly be more life-changing and more enjoyable and more fun than creating content in 4 months. Like, yes, sometimes it's a little stressful, you know, when you're tired or you're feeling sick and you don't want to post a video, but you feel like you should, or you don't feel like you should stream, but you should, or when you don't have that much time and you got to record a podcast episode, you know what I mean? Like, there's all of these different, like, stressors that come from creating content, but it doesn't come close at all to the amount of enjoyment and the amount of passion I get from just doing this in general. Like, I feel so incredibly blessed every single day, and it's something I look forward to every single day. Like, even when I'm saying like, oh, I'm sick, I don't feel like recording, I'm just saying that because I know that's like something that other people feel. Like, when I'm sick, I still want to record. I love it. Like, I literally love doing it. It doesn't feel like I'm taking time out of my day to record things or to come up with video ideas or to look through my analytics or to, you know, keep up to date on the different trends that are going on. It doesn't feel like I'm doing anything like, you know, bad, like, oh, I could be doom scrolling on TikTok instead. Like, what else would I be doing? I may as well be recording because I literally love being in front of the camera. I love, you know, fostering this community of these amazing people that are pretty similar to me in interests. Like, it's cool. I love it. And you guys, you know, all of you guys who are listening and all of you guys who are watching, like, really drive it into me, like, how amazing it is, because you guys are so supportive. I mean, we're only on episode 3 of the podcast, and it is already bigger than I thought it would ever be in, like, a long time. I've never tried a podcast before. I've never tried talking for this long before, other than, like, on a Twitch stream, which has, like, chats and stuff. Like, I'm having to come up with these on the spot, basically. And it's a new skill, because like I said in the last episode, I am a little bit, like, shy on camera. I don't talk that much, so being able to talk for, like, a really long time on a podcast episode is something I'm not used to. But wow, like, you guys are amazing, so thank you for that. And I just wanted to talk about that because, like I said, going so much out of your way just to make a random small creator, like, feel so welcomed and so, like, heard by one of the people that he looks up to is just, dude, it's amazing. It's amazing. I'm so happy about it. Okay, moving on. I want to talk about DCKO Knightfight and the future of DCKO. This was a hot take, apparently. I posted this on TikTok when I first read it, and a lot of people didn't really agree with me, which is fine. I don't mind if people agree with me or not. Obviously, I'm not going to, like, sway my opinion. If somebody's like, oh, try to look at it from this perspective, I'll try. If it doesn't help me, then it doesn't help me. If it does, it does. But, I'm never going to force somebody to change their opinion or have somebody change my opinion. Like, you know what I mean? If we have differing opinions, it doesn't really matter to me. But I love hearing the other side. But for DCKO specifically, I am very disappointed in DCKO Knightfight. Like, very disappointed. It's only one issue long, by the way, so far. But when I heard the idea of Batman fighting the other Robins when they become Batman, that sounds insane. I want to see Tim Drake when he becomes Batman fighting Bruce Wayne Batman. I want to see Dick Grayson Batman fight Bruce Wayne Batman. I want to see Damian Wayne. I want to see Cassandra Cain. I want to see Stephanie Brown. I want to see Jason Todd. I want to see all of these different versions of Batman fighting Batman. I don't know if Signal gets one, but maybe he does. Like, all of these different Batman, Bat family characters fighting Batman, but they are Batman, if that makes sense. Like, that sounds cool. And the art is done by Dan Mora, so these designs for these characters is going to be absolutely peak. But then you gotta remember, it's a DCKO tie-in. How is Batman, who died in issue 1, gonna have a tie-in to DCKO unless it takes place before DCKO? In that case, then he wasn't confused when Darkseid was explaining the rules of the tournament, and he wouldn't have fallen into the trap. How does this make any sense? Well, the explanation is much worse than that. The explanation for why it's a DCKO tie-in is because Batman was wearing special armor that when he died in the DCKO tournament, a fraction of a second before he died, he got transported to another world and survived. That is annoying as heck. Annoying as heck. He talks about it in the issue, how he wants to make it back into the tournament. And one thing that everyone was shocked about with DCKO issue number 1 was that they killed off DC's Golden Boy. Like, Batman is out of this tournament where there's 32 other characters who just get an amazing chance to shine against, like, the Trinity members, against Darkseid, against the 3 champions that were introduced at the end of DCKO 1. Like, this is a chance to make people fall in love with these random characters like Star Sapphire or, like, Demon or whatever, like, his name is. Like, these Plastic Man. Like, these characters that are known, but, like, they don't have as big of a fan base as Batman, obviously, or Wonder Woman or Superman. This is a chance to show them off, show off their potential, make fans want to read more. But killing off Batman made me think that they were going to go that route, like, oh, our niche or more underrated characters are going to get a chance to shine. I think it's going to be the opposite. I think Batman's going to actually find a way to get back into the tournament and he's going to win it all. And if that happens, I'm going to be more than disappointed in DC, because this is one of the only events that I have been actually so invested in because I usually don't like events like this because they tend to let me down and it kind of feels like fan service in a way. But I was so excited for DCKO, and I don't think I have that excitement anymore because the trajectory they're going. The collabs are obviously going to be one of the coolest things ever. Seeing like Sub-Zero fighting against these characters, or like Homelander or Annabelle, whatever it is. Like the collabs are going to be cool, but to me, a story needs to be more than just cool for me to enjoy it. Like it's got to actually make me think about something in the real world, like maybe change my perspective of something, or raise awareness to a situation, or relate to a character. But just seeing like characters just aura farming and fighting, like it's cool, but it's not enough to make me like love the comic, if that makes sense. So I feel like DCKO had potential. Obviously this is all speculation. Issue 2 could like do something phenomenal. Obviously the mini issues where they're fighting could have great stories, but I'm worried is all I'm trying to say, because of the decision they made in DCKO Knightfight, and that decision being bringing Batman back. Just seems like the writers feel that they can do whatever they want. They can make a big shock like Superman dies, next issue bring him back. Like I don't want that. I want there to be stakes. It's DCKO. It's 32 DC characters, main continuity, can die. Like bring them back after the tournament if they die. Sure, I don't care about that because obviously you got to keep main continuity alive. I don't care about bringing them back after the tournament, but bringing them back with them having the goal of going back into the tournament seems very unfair, because only certain characters based on plot will be able to get back. Like let's say who's someone that's kind of like Black Canary. Let's say Black Canary dies in the tournament and gets brought back to life. Do you really think that they would ever give her a chance to get back into the tournament? No. It's just because it's Batman, and I don't like that. Batman obviously gets plot armor all the time, and I'm completely fine with that because I love him as a character. But for DCKO specifically, I'm not trying to see that. I'm trying to feel something. I'm trying to feel the stakes of this tournament. I mean, it's absolute dark side running this tournament. It's not a random, right? Like, I don't know. I'm a little disappointed in that. But now I want to move on to the hot takes. So this is the first time that I'm doing a hot takes segment on the podcast. So the way that this is going to work is people in the Discord, there's a channel called Podcast Hot Takes. People have already, put their hot takes in here, and I'm going to read them out. And the way that it's going to work is it's going to be like I'm a what's it called? Like a judge. I'm going to judge you whether you're innocent or guilty. If you're guilty, that means I think it's a crazy hot take. You know what I mean? Like, you're guilty, bro. Lock in. If you're innocent, then that means I think your hot take deserves to, like, be fine. Like, even if I don't agree with it, maybe I can understand your point of view. And I'll be like, you know what? That's not a terrible take. Or maybe I agree with it so much, and then you're still let free. But, yeah, so I'm basically a judge. Judge Marcus is what this segment basically is. So, starting off, oh my goodness. Wow, we are not starting off strong. Batman The Long Halloween has the most annoying ending to a comic book I've seen so far. You are guilty on every account possible. What are we talking about? Batman The Long Halloween is my favorite Batman comic of all time. I think it is most people's favorite Batman comic of all time. I do not think it has an ending that lets anybody down at all. And I think the issue with Batman The Long Halloween is a lot of people don't understand the objective of what Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale are trying to portray. They're not trying to just make an action-packed, action-filled story. I mean, look at the Marvel Color series, for example. They make emotionally and intelligently written comics that, like, actually have you falling in love with aspects of said character that they're working on. Tim Sale's artwork bleeds through the page. It feels like you're like the noir style that Batman The Long Halloween has could not be replicated by anybody else. And if you're going in there wanting like an end conclusion to a fight, like, you're not going to get that in The Long Halloween. The Long Halloween is one of their stories which, like I said, are intelligently written to make you fall in love with the character. It's not going to be a full stop close, which should be a good thing because it wants you to read more. Also, it's not supposed to be a full stop close because there's a second one called Batman Dark Victory that takes place right after. So, for them to like end the story of Batman there makes no sense considering there's another book. If that, like, do you get what I'm saying? So to be like, I don't agree with that at all. I can't agree with that like at all. But wow. Okay. Well, we'll move on. Um, wow, guilty again. Batman Hush is an extremely mid story. Okay, I'm gonna read them out before I say whether they're guilty or innocent because I feel like I'm just like spoiling it. But Batman Hush is an extremely oh my gosh. Batman Hush is an extremely mid story carried completely by Jim Lee's art, and Hush, as he is presented in the comic, isn't as interesting as they want you to believe. I'm gonna say guilty, and here's why. I think Batman Hush is not that great. I think it's like a 7 to 7.5 out of 10. But I think it is possibly the best introduction to Batman you could possibly give somebody. I know a lot of people recommend Batman Year One, but I haven't read Batman Year One because a lot of people say that it's not that good. And I'm not trying to spend my money on something that people don't think is good. Like, if everybody's like, oh, this is really great, and then I pick it up and then it's bad, like, at least I could be like, oh, well, whatever. But if I buy something that people are saying is bad and it's bad, then I'm like, what was I doing? You know what I mean? I know a little bit about it. I've got a brief overview about it, and it just doesn't seem interesting to me. Obviously, that doesn't mean when I read it or if I read it that I'm going to have the same opinion, but I just don't want to see Batman talk in cursive. I don't like cursive. But it's not a mid story. I think introducing you to all of Batman's rogues and how he interacts with his rogues, as well as touching on the different character dynamics between him and Jason, him and Alfred, Batman and his childhood trauma with his best friend. I think like that's all great. Even though it's surface level, I think it's the best introduction to Batman as a story. Overall, story is easily like a 7, 7.5 out of 10. It's not that great, but it's just, you can't introduce Batman to somebody without having them dive into all of these different things about him. You know what I mean? Like, he has so many rogues that you could fall in love with and want to read more Batman versus Mr. Freeze, or Batman versus Joker, or Batman versus Penguin. Or you could fall in love with the fact that he has the childhood trauma, and you can look up Batman origin stories. You could look up Batman trauma. You could fall in love with like the fact that he has a love interest in Selena Kyle. Like, there's so many different aspects of Batman that are presented in that story. I think it is the best starter comic for Batman, but I don't think it's that good. And Jim Lee's art is obviously really good, but I agree with the second half of that statement. I don't think Hush is that interesting, but I mean, it did have me a little surprised. I mean, a lot of people weren't surprised by it, but specifically because it had me surprised, I think it's okay. Again, not the greatest story. Hush isn't that interesting, but I can't think of a better introduction to Batman, and I can't call it the best introduction to a character, especially one of the most popular characters ever, a mid-story. That's insane to me. The next take is Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man is the best series Marvel ever put out. Guilty on every single account. X-Men 97 is like probably 4 to 5 times better than Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, and that's just one show. If we're counting live action, like basically all live actions in my opinion top that except for a couple. Like, let me think. So Hawkeye tops Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. Loki, Moon Knight. I know a lot of people have mixed bags of emotions when it comes to Moon Knight. Moon Knight is better. WandaVision's better. What am I missing? What am I missing? I know I'm missing a big one. Hawkeye, Loki, WandaVision. I don't know. I'm missing a big one, but there's no way. It's not even in the top 8 probably. It's not even in the top 8. Best series ever, Spectacular Spider-Man is easily better. Ultimate Spider-Man, it's a toss-up. A lot of people call Ultimate Spider-Man really mid. I grew up on it, so maybe I have bias. But I think Ultimate Spider-Man is better than Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. Spectacular Spider-Man, obviously much better. Like I said, it's really not the best series Marvel ever put out. That doesn't mean it's bad. It's like, again, 7.5 to 8 out of 10. Not a bad score. It's just nowhere near X-Men 97. It doesn't come close, which I think is probably... It doesn't touch Daredevil. I forgot about Daredevil. Yeah, it does... No. That's terrible. Terrible take. You're guilty. Next take. Wow, I can't believe that these takes are real. The new Fantastic Four movie is the best movie in all of the MCU. You are guilty. Can somebody please be innocent? You are guilty. Guilty on every account possible. What are we talking about? Fantastic Four... This is going to be a hot take that a lot of you guys don't agree with. I liked Thunderbolts more than I liked Fantastic Four. And that was literally the movie that came right before it. So obviously it's not. I like No Way Home better than Fantastic Four. A lot of people call it a nostalgia fest. Rewatch it. A lot of people take, take things on the internet and like think it's their opinion. If you think it's a nostalgia fest, that's fine. But say the same thing for Endgame. Like, don't tell me it's a nostalgia fest and then go tell me that you had one of the best cinematic experiences in Endgame. Like, you know what I mean? Like, don't say that. They're both nostalgia fest, but that doesn't make them bad. Just because they play on one emotion, which is nostalgia, doesn't mean they didn't even play on it the whole movie. Like, Tom actually has a ton of character development in it. And also seeing Andrew finally being able to catch, like, Gwen, well, in this world, it's MJ, but, like, being able to, like, do that, like, these are moments that like had me like jumping out of my seat. And like I go out of theaters and people are like, nostalgia fest, they brought 2 Spider-Mans back. Like, are we serious, bro? Like, it's actually a good movie. Far From Home is better. No Way Home is better. Or not Far From Home, sorry. Whoa, I don't like Far From Home that much. No Way Home is better. Thunderbolts is better. Winter Soldier is better. Civil War, Infinity War, Endgame are all better. Shang-Chi is better. Both Black Panther movies are better. Is there any more that I can think of off the top of my head? Avengers 1 is better. That's all I got. But then top 1 is crazy. Even if you don't agree with some of them, like some people are like, oh, Avengers 1 doesn't hold up today. That's just wrong. But, you know, you can't deny, like, Fantastic Four being the best, that's insane. Guilty. Next take is the new Avengers, the Thunderbolts, are better and feel more like a family than the original Avengers. You are innocent. Bro, first innocent person. This is one of the reasons that I don't really like the Avengers is they constantly drive it into you that they're just co-workers. Like, you never feel that emotional connection between all of them. You feel that with the Thunderbolts. The Thunderbolts, I mean, 2 of them are actually family members, so obviously their dynamic is going to be great. But, like, Yelena, like, her dynamic between basically every single character in the Thunderbolts is a stronger connection than you get from literally any possible, like, Marvel Avengers-related thing. The Thunderbolts is easily more of a family-like team than the original Avengers. I could completely agree with that, and you are innocent. The next take is the X-Men are the best superhero group / team, and I'm going to tell you you're innocent. I think they are the easily standing for the most relevant message. I also think just because there's just such a big amount of X-Men that it's impossible to find an X-Men character that you won't like. Yeah, I mean, I like that take. I need to read more X-Men, I need to watch more X-Men, but I already like them more than I like the Avengers, and I've consumed so much Avengers content, you know what I mean? So, I just need to read more to be, like, more knowledgeable about them, but I like them more than I like the Avengers. And I think best superhero group, I can't think of one off the top of my head that comes close other than Titans for me, because I'm a big Titans guy. It has Nightwing and Wally, which are my 2 favorite characters in DC. And then it has, like, Donna Troy, who I also kind of like. I love Omen. I think Omen is so underrated. Garth is really cool because I mean, if you watched Young Justice, Aqualad and Garth have a lot of moments. So seeing Garth in Titans is really cool. And Arsenal obviously is really cool. So I really, really like that team. And I think that's great. Oh, goodness gracious. I know I'm not supposed to say until I read the take. The Joker 2 was misunderstood. Oh my gosh, the Joker 2 was terrible. That is the most guilty take of all time. What do you mean it was misunderstood? The Joker 2 ending literally reminded you that the Joker 1 movie and Joker 2, you weren't actually watching Joker the entire time. You were watching a fan of Joker. That is a terrible ending. Like, there's no way. Like, imagine at the end of, like, a Batman movie. Or, like, but there was 2 movies, which makes it worse. But, like, let's just say at the end of a Batman movie, Batman gets pieced up by the actual Batman. And you find out the entire movie you've been watching a fan. You haven't been watching actual Batman. There's no way you'd sit there and be like, wow, great story. No, you'd be like, what? Why would I want to follow this, like, random guy who's a fan? I'd rather follow the real Batman. Like, you know, if they have that twist, like, 20 minutes into the movie, sure, that could be a peak moment. But they did it at the end of the 2 hours. Like, no, not misunderstood. It was terrible. I'm also not a big fan of musicals, so that's just my own personal bias against it. But regardless, the ending was terrible. So you are guilty. The next take. Wait, I gotta go to one where it's like kind of relevant. Okay. Dan Mora's art is good, but he's super overrated. I love his art and he's so talented, it's not like I can do better, but all the characters look like they have the same face to me. Katie. I'm not supposed to say who said the take, so ignore that. But that is easily an innocent. I know you guys were thinking I was going to say guilty, but I've been standing on this take. Dan Mora draws eye candy, which is absolutely a talent that 0.00000000001% of the population can do. He is one of a kind. He is amazing. I like him more as a cover artist than I do when he writes the actual story or does the art on the actual story. For example, Transformers. I want the Transformers to be gritty. I want to feel the weight of the story. I want to feel like when they punch each other, it's like metal to metal, like the world can shake when they punch, unironically. That's what I want to feel. I feel that when it's Daniel Warren Johnson. I feel that when it's Mike Spicer. I feel that. I don't feel that when I'm watching Dan Mora's, looking at the artwork of Dan Mora's Transformers. I don't think every character needs to be eye candy. I think some characters are meant to be gritty and dark, and Dan Mora, in my opinion, doesn't do those characters that well. So a lot of people put him as the number 1 artist. I would put him as the number 1 cover artist. But when it comes to actual artists in story, I don't think he makes the top 5 for me. Let me just list some off the top of the dome. Daniel Warren Johnson, my favorite artist and my favorite writer. Bruno Redondo, I think he makes eye candy art in a way where it actually enhances the character. I don't think Dan Moraes does that. Jorge Jimenez. Who else do we got? Dang, I said top 5. Now I'm like running out of I'm having like a brain fart. The guy who did Absolute Martian Manhunter is like something Rodriguez. That guy. Tim Sale. Tim Sale should have been like second or maybe even first. But that's already 5. So I'm just gonna stop it there. I'm like brain farting like crazy. But I named 5 off the top of the head that I think do better in story than Dan Mora. And a lot of people think Dan Mora is the number 1 in story. I think he's the number 1 cover, just not in story. Next one is that Absolute Batman is hella overrated. Bro, you are easily innocent. It doesn't make it, it's not that special to me. I think it's great to introduce somebody to comics, and I think I can't even glaze it. The annual was great, but it was done by a different artist and a different writer. It was done by Daniel Warren Johnson, who's my goat. So of course it's gonna be better. But like the actual Absolute Batman, okay, to preface this, I've only read 1 through 8. I have 10, 11, and 13 that I haven't read that I own, but I'm not reading them until I get 9 and 10. I just wanted to put that out there. But it's not that great so far. 1 through 8, in my opinion, like, was kind of nothing. Like, in all honesty, I didn't like the Zoo arc. I didn't like the Mr. Freeze arc. I didn't like those. And, like, Absolute Martian Manhunter, I know I glaze this all the time because it's my favorite comic book of all time. It is like 10 tiers above Absolute Batman. Absolute Superman is clearly better than Absolute Batman so far. Absolute Wonder Woman is clearly better than Absolute Batman so far. And like, the more that I get invested into other Absolute series, I realize how much better they are than Batman, except for the Flash. I did not like Absolute Flash, I'm sorry. I dropped it after issue 5, but also I haven't read any Absolute Green Lantern. But for example, like Absolute Batman used to be my favorite. Then I picked up Absolute Martian Manhunter. I was like, wow, this is much better. Then Absolute Batman was my second favorite. Then I read Absolute Wonder Woman. I was like, wow, this is much better. Absolute Batman moved to my third favorite. I read Absolute Flash. I was like, okay, this is kind of mid. Absolute Batman was still my third favorite. Then I read Absolute Superman. I was like, wow, this is much better than Absolute Batman. Absolute Batman is now my fourth favorite. Every time I read, except for Absolute Flash, it moves down. And it's not because I don't like Absolute Batman. It's just because it's not the deepest story. It's not, like, it's very surface level. Like, very, very surface level. But I will say, I'm very excited to read the Bane arc, because the Bane arc is the most popular, most well-rated issues of the entire Absolute Batman story, and I haven't read it. So maybe that's why I think it's mid. Maybe it's because I just haven't got to the best part yet. But I will make that decision when I read it, and I will definitely talk about it again, because I want it to surprise me. The next take is that Ultimate Spider-Man 2025 gets too much glaze on social media. I'm going to go ahead and say guilty. I think it is one of the best Marvel comics that have been coming out in a really long time. Like, I immediately got invested, especially as a big Spider-Man fan, of just the unique takes of Spider-Man himself and all of the surrounding characters, and seeing him not be bound to just being a high schooler or bound to being a college student is something that I love, and I think is so underrated about it. I will say the last 3 issues haven't really been blowing me away as the first 20 did, but that doesn't mean overall it's a bad story. It just means that or the first 22, sorry. Did I say 23? Yeah, I meant 22. But it's not blowing me away. It's just not getting too much glaze, because what else is Marvel putting out that's clearly better? Not much. Especially bigger titles. I think Imperial is better than Ultimate Spider-Man, but Imperial I know is just not as big, so because it's not as big, it's not going to get glazed. Spider-Man is the face of Marvel. Any story that he has is going to get a lot of traction, and the story that he has is a great story. So I don't think it's getting too much glaze. I think you're guilty for that one. I'm sorry. We're going to do 3 more. We'll go with Man of Steel is good and so overhated. My gosh, bro. I might have to quit podcasting. Guilty on every account, sentenced to life. Bro, what are we talking about? I don't understand why people like Zack Snyder's vision, because his vision was not good. It was never said that it was an Elseworld story, and we're taking the character of Superman and having him be a walking nuclear bomb that just kills as many civilians and as many people as possible, but can't save his own father. It's really bad. I don't like it. Man of Steel, again, the action sequences is kind of cool. I'll give it that. I still don't think the fighting's that great, but you can really tell how strong they are. I mean, that's something. You can be like, wow, when they punched, everyone dies. I don't know what I'm supposed to like about this movie. I think it's one of the worst movies of all time. I always say that these billion-dollar companies it's really hard for them to produce a movie that I think could be the worst of all time, because the worst movie of all time probably has a budget of like $10. But Man of Steel is a good contender. What are we talking about? Oh, no. Guilty. Can't talk about it anymore. Guilty. The next take is the Loki TV show is the best project that the MCU ever did. Guilty. That take doesn't make me as mad as as it would make most people, though. I just think X-Men 97 clears it like very easily. And I also think there's like project includes movies. So like I mean I can name like what? Like I'm gonna just go back on my list. Winter Soldier, clearly better. Civil War, clearly better. Far From Home, clearly keep saying Far From Home. Far From Home is so mad. No Way Home, clearly better. Like these are movies that are just like clearly better. Avengers Endgame, Avengers Infinity War, clearly better. But the Loki TV show, I think, is a little overhated. Like, when it first came out, everybody was saying spectacular things about it. And now that, like, time has passed, a lot of people are, like, kind of hating on it. It's like, what? It's the same story that we all enjoyed. It's just, like, it came out a couple months ago. Like, I don't know. I think it's great, though. It's one of the better TV shows that Marvel's put out. It's probably in, like, top 4, if not top 3. But I don't think it's the best project. I think that's a little insane. Okay, Cinnamon Toast Crunch is overrated. Wow. That might be an instant ban in my Discord server. Cinnamon Toast Crunch is my favorite cereal, bro. That feels like a personal shot. That feels personal. No. You are guilty on every single account possible, but added with another life sentence on top of that. Cinnamon Toast Crunch is overrated? How? How is it overrated? Like, have you tried the cereal milk that happens after, like the cereal milk that happens after you eat Cinnamon Toast Crunch? That is the best cereal milk of all time, first of all. And that's not even including the actual cereal. Like, when you're including the cereal, it's like, in my opinion, it's clearly the best. But I know that it's super sugary, so I guess if you're not into sugar, I guess I can get that. But if you don't like it, like, what is your favorite cereal? If you don't like sugary stuff, like Raisin Bran? Like, what? Like, if you don't like sugar, like, the ones that are up there, like, you can't like Fruity Pebbles. You can't like, I mean, Cocoa Puffs aren't really sugary, but, like, Trix, like, Cookie Crisps would be sugary. Lucky Charms would be sugary. Frosted Flakes would be sugary. Like, those are all sugary cereals. So I'm just curious what your favorite would be if you think Cinnamon Toast Crunch is overrated. Like, it's got to be something like Raisin Bran or like Corn Puffs or something. Like, come on now. That's crazy. And now for the last take. Into and Across the Spiderverse ruined Spider-Man's image. They're still good movies. Canon events and whatever just ruined Spider-Man's character, in my opinion. I'm going to say guilty, and here's why. I've always been under the belief that the idea of canon events was made up by Miguel O'Hara. I've been thinking this ever since I watched Across for the first time. I don't think that the idea of a canon event exists. I think he used his technology to find a pattern between all the Spider-Man to try to make them against Miles for some reason. I think, like, he knows something that not everybody in the Spider Society knows, but it's not canon events. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know how to put it into words because I haven't, like, you know, fully thought about it and came with, like, research. But I don't think that canon events are a real thing. Like, I think Miguel had a bad experience with his world and is trying to put all of that trauma and blame onto Miles for some reason. I don't know why he's singling out Miles, but there's definitely a reason. It could be because Miles technically created Spot. Maybe he feels like, you know, angry at him for creating Spot. Maybe it's because, you know, he lost his world and he wants to take out his anger on another Spider-Man who's trying to save his world in the same way. But I think Miguel O'Hara is doing a good job of being a con man in making the other Spider Society people really think that canon events are real. But I've always been under the impression that it is something made up by Miguel O'Hara. That's why I think it's innocent. If it ends up being true, then I can kind of lean towards you know, or I meant guilty, but I could lean more towards innocent if it ends up becoming true, because I don't like the idea that all Spider-Mans should let people die. I don't like that idea, that they shouldn't try to save them. But again, I do think that that is something made up by Miguel O'Hara, which is why I'm saying that you're guilty. But I don't know. I would have to sit on that for a little bit and think about it. But that was a lot of fan segments. Thank you guys for sending in your stuff. Now I'm going to just wrap up the episode really quickly. Guys, thank you all for watching. You guys are all amazing people. Thank you all for listening. If you guys want to be part of the hot takes or want to be part of, I do have question segments as well that I will be talking about. Join the Discord. It will be in the description. If you're on Spotify, go to YouTube so then you can get the links. I don't really know how to put a link in the description. Maybe I'll figure it out by the time this comes out. But yeah, join the Discord. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace.